Today, Aunt Moo is going to show everyone how to make plum wine with red punch syrup. The red punch syrup is from Ting Fong, and it's like a concentrated mixed fruit juice. We'll use half a kilogram of red plums, or you can use prunes. First, we'll prepare the plum flesh, and then we'll move on to the next step. We'll use 1 liter of water for boiling. Just pour it in. Turn on the stove. Now the water is starting to get hot. We're going to add the red plums in. Here are the red plums that I've already prepared. We'll scoop out the flesh and mash it like this, using the skin, the seed, and the flesh, everything just like this. Add in half a kilogram. The riper or juicier the fruit you use, the more juicy and sweet your wine will turn out. Today, we're going to use 1 kilogram of white sugar. Pour it in at this stage. Stir to dissolve the sugar. If you don't stir it, the sugar will settle at the bottom of the pot and could end up burning and smelling bad. The next step is to add red punch syrup, like this one from Ting Fong. We'll use 1 whole bottle. We pour in the red syrup, and you need to stir the mixture well so everything combines. The color looks beautiful now. Next, we'll continue boiling for another 10 minutes. Now that we've boiled for the full 10 minutes, I'm going to turn off the stove. The stove is now off, and we'll move on to the next step. We're going to add the remaining 4 liters of water. I'm using clean, drinkable water at 4 liters. We add 4 liters of drinking water and also the 1 liter of water that we use to boil the sugar with the plums. So in total, we're using 5 liters of water. Now, let's mix all the ingredients together. The next step is to test the yeast. Set aside some of the water in a small bowl. Here, I'm using half a tablespoon of yeast. We'll pour it into the bowl with the water we set aside like this, then stir it a little and let the yeast activate for a moment. Meanwhile, we'll go ahead and pour the plum mixture into the fermentation bucket. Now, our yeast has become nice and frothy like this, so it's ready to be poured into the fermentation bucket. Go ahead and pour it in. During the fermentation process, we won't close the lid tightly. We need to leave it loose like this so that air inside can escape. Don't forget to write a label and stick it on, noting what you're fermenting and the date so you don't forget. I'll write and stick a note saying this is red plum wine. Started on the 16th of May. Next, in 2 weeks, I'll come back to check and see how our wine tastes. After fermenting for 2 weeks, show smooth and delicious it will be. Please stay tuned, everyone. Today, I'm here to give you an update on the red plum wine we started fermenting on May 16th. Today is May 30th, so it's been a total of 15 days. 15 days is just the right amount of time for the perfect flavor. Now, we're going to strain out the solids and stop the yeast. We'll strain it through a sieve. Right now, I've strained the solids and placed them in a sieve like this. We won't be using these solids at all. They need to be discarded during the yeast stopping process. If you open your wine to taste and find it bitter or astringent, today I'll show you how to fix the taste of wine that's bitter or astringent. For this method, I recommend adding only 50 grams of white sugar. This addition is just to adjust the flavor, and there's really no need to add much at all. We don't want our wine to be sweet. Just a slight hint of sweetness is already present. To fix the taste, 50 grams won't make it overly sweet. Now, we'll add it at this stagger turn on the stove. At this point, you need to use low heat. After adding the sugar, you must keep stirring. Otherwise, the sugar will stick to the bottom of the pot. Today, we're going to stop the fermentation at a temperature of 45 degrees. Right here, as you can see, the target temperature for the wine is 44.5 degrees. Once it reaches that, we'll turn off the stove immediately. Now, we've already turned off the stove. When it comes to measuring the temperature, you really need to have a thermometer, because if you just try to guess, sometimes it just doesn't work, especially when making wine. So now that we've turned off the stove, we'll need to wait for our wine to reach room temperature before moving on to the fermentation step. Don't be impatient if you rush and pour the wine into the fermentation container. While it's still hot, the wine will evaporate its steam and turn cloudy, which can cause spoilage over time. That's why I always tell you to let the wine cool to room temperature first. Right now, I'm letting my batch rest as well. The roselle juice has now reached room temperature. Now we're ready to pour it into the fermentation container. Aunt Moo has already poured it into the fermentation tank, and she also put a sticker on it to indicate what kind of wine this is. We will ferment at room temperature for about 7 days. Let's see how delicious and well-rounded our red wine will be after fermenting for 7 days. Friends, please wait and see. Today, Auntie Moo will update you on which wines are fermented with red wine. We've been fermenting it for about 2 weeks now, friends. It looks so appetizing. Just look at it. I'm not going to put it in the fridge. Instead, I'll pour it out right now so you all can see it live like this. The color is really beautiful. Normally, fruit punch is already delicious, but this time we've used it as an ingredient for plum wine. Now, let's have Dad Moo taste it. Wow. This has a really high alcohol content, everyone. It's delicious, though. The aroma from the fruit punch syrup is already fragrant, and the plums give it a natural color. Now, when we bottle it, how do we keep that beautiful color and prevent it from turning acidic or becoming sparkling wine? I'll show you how I store the bottle so you can see. How do we store it so that the color stays beautiful like this? For the wine barrel, we're going to add KMS. You can add the KMS directly into the wine barrel. If you bought chemicals from Aunt Moo, you'll get a spoon like this. Today we have about 6 liters of wine, so I'll add 2 spoons of KMS. This one dissolves easily. You can add it directly into the wine barrel, the KMS, or potassium metabisulfite, which is a common additive. It helps preserve the color so it won't get any darker than this. This helps to a certain extent, friends, because we're using only a very small amount. Potassium metabisulfite is widely used in the food industry, whether in boxed fruit juices or in pickled fruits and preserved fruits. Potassium metabisulfite helps with food preservation and protection, maintaining its condition. We add it to the wine we want to store in order to keep it safe. And when it comes to bottling, you need to sterilize it in another step. For this sterilization step, we use potassium sorbate. This is another substance that must be used together. They need to be used as a pair. Potassium sorbate looks like these little stick-shaped granules, as you can see. It's used to sterilize yeast. Aunt Moo also taught the method of knocking out yeast by heating it to 45 degrees C, which is one way to sterilize it. But if you want to store wine for a long time, you should use these 2 substances. They're quite safe because in the food industry, they use these 2 substances as ingredients for food preservation. When we want to store wine, we should wash and dry the bottles like this. See? We turn the bottles upside down to dry them like this. This is part of the wine storage process after we've prepared 10 bottles. Right now, the sediment has settled at the bottom of the tank like this. Before we pour the wine into the bottles, Aunt Moo will use 1 spoonful of potassium sorbate and pour it directly into each bottle like this. Pour it directly into the bottle like this. For 1 bottle, we use 1 spoon, friends. If it's a bigger bottle, just multiply the amount of spoons accordingly, friends. This bottle is only 750 ml. After we pour the wine in, close the lid tightly. Now, just keep it in the bottle like this. Write a sticker and label it with what kind of wine it is, which batch, and what fruit punch it is. For this one, I'll write a sticker and stick it on later. We just keep it at room temperature, friends. When bottling the wine like this, we store it at normal room temperature. Only put it in the fridge when you're ready to drink that particular bottle. Dad Moo will put it in the fridge when he wants to drink it. But most of the time, I just pour it into bottles and store it like this. Some of you might ask if you can skip adding those 2 substances. Yes, you can skip them, friends. If you don't add those 2 substances, you need to store the wine in opaque bottles like this. Opaque bottles help preserve the color of the wine. If you store the wine without adding preservatives and you keep it in clear glass bottles like this at room temperature, within less than a month, the light will draw out all the color from the wine, friends. The wine will become completely clear. It will turn into a colorless wine. Can you still drink it? Yes, you can. It's not spoiled. But we'd like it to have a bit of color, right? We want to keep the color we had from the beginning, which is the color from the plums. We want to have this kind of color, so when you pour it out to drink, it looks appetizing, right? Can you see it, friends? When we pour it out to drink, see? It looks delicious. Look, it's like sparkling wine, see? It's sparkling wine, and it tastes really good. When you drink it, it gives a warm sensation down your throat. For anyone watching Aunt Moo's video and finding it enjoyable or useful, please give it a like to support Aunt Moo. Don't forget to share, follow, and subscribe so you won't miss any of Aunt Moo's new videos in the future. Hello and greetings to all my fans, both those abroad and those in the country. That's all for this video until we meet again next time. Goodbye.